Alex and this is Travel TitBits 32, and you join me on the first of my walks from railway stations. I'm doing the first walk around part of Barnstaple. I hope not to get lost, but I may be involved in secret negotiations with a guide and his dog on future expeditions. So here we are in Barnstaple. I'm going to take you around a short walk to the river and a look at some bridges. So the next time you'll see me will be nearer the bridge, the long bridge of Barnstaple. So you join me looking at Barnstaple Long Bridge, and mighty impressive it still looks as it majestically crosses the Taw River in late winter sun, and the river's quite still and at low tide. It's not actually known when there was first a bridge here. The earliest records show that a certain knight called Sir Tracy, shall we call him Tracy? I think it was Sir Henry Tracy. He felt obliged to contribute to a river maintenance fund. He got in trouble with the church, and presumably it was preferable to having his head chopped off and his lands confiscated. And so successful was it that other people who presumably also got in trouble with the church also felt obliged to contribute to said fund. Anyway, the original bridge wouldn't have looked anything like this. It was in fact only wide enough for pedestrians to barely pass one another, and maybe a pack horse. Even as late as 1786, you could be run over by a horse, and the only way to avoid this infamous event was to stand in one of the pedestrian recesses which had been built up over the years. Also, the bridge wasn't predominantly brick as it is today. And just to give you an idea of how much narrower the bridge used to be, let's take a close up of one of the arches, which will give you an idea of the original width of the bridge, or at least the predecessor. And it's a lot less than the later widening which was decided upon in the early 1960s. But we're slightly jumping ahead here because with the advent of the motorised vehicles, the local council was so worried that it introduced a speed order. Can you imagine a speed order in 1905? You could not travel any faster on a steam-operated engine across this bridge, no faster than 2 miles per hour, and you had to get across this bridge within 4 minutes and 19 seconds. Otherwise, you face the possible fine of £10, which in 1905 must have been a horrendous amount of money. So, yes, I guess you didn't risk crossing the bridge unless you had a full head of steam on your steam engine. When horses were more prominent, I think that horsepower had a different meaning in those days to what it was later. So let's cross the bridge and take a look at it from the other side. So looking at the bridge from the other side, yeah, it's a much wider bridge, and by the 1950s, and when the decision was made in 1961 that the bridge needed widening, traffic problems had increased. It was the only possible road crossing, and yeah, so you can just about see that it probably tripled or quadrupled the width of the bridge and became like the major crossing of the Taw at this point. Since there's been another relief road which we can't quite see. It's hidden by the bridge, but it was built in 2007 as a kind of bypass. But before the major link road between here and the M5, the main road used to approach Barnstaple along the River Taw here and came in front of the Imperial Hotel, where the clock tower is. This was originally in the middle or as part of a roundabout that allowed for the intersections of many roads going through the town, across the bridge, and from different parts of Devon. Before the roundabout, this square had a much different look about it, because it was more or less an uncontrolled crossing, intersection, and between where the road would have hugged the edge of this building, there was a small garden, and around it, the car owners of the time, and there's photographs from the 1920s and 30s that show this, they used to line up around the edge of the garden, which included the clock tower. It looks bizarre to look at photographs of them like that, because as Henry Ford, the car builder, once said, you can have any car you like as long as it's black. And looking at the cars of that day, it very much looked like there were very few choices and every car looked the same. And if you'd witnessed it at the time, you would have been amazed at these machines that people brought into town. But parking was definitely not an issue in those days. It's very much a 20th and now 21st century problem. The Imperial Hotel, well, it's owned by a well-known West Country hotel group today, but originally it was an independent hotel, and hotels in Barnstaple have always been important. And although the original hotel was smaller, it was no less, it was important. I think the near side of the building was the original, and the other part is a more modern addition. So let's walk along the riverside a bit. As we take a look at this bridge into the sun, we may not even be able to see it very well. It is a little known fact, or one that's slightly forgotten, that there used to be three major stations in Barnstaple. Barnstaple railway station used to be known as Barnstaple Junction. There was Barnstaple Town. For a time there was Barnstaple Quay, and the other town which this bridge led to was Barnstaple Victoria Road, and this was built by the Great Western Railway. To the right leads to the old route to the Barnstaple Junction station, and to the left it ran into a triangle, and the right hand of the triangle went towards Taunton, and the left went into the station site, and there was obviously a direct route from that site to Taunton. And right up to the year 1960, the summer of 1960, there could be 13 major trains that crossed this single track bridge on a single day. So traffic from the Great Western Railway. So railways were extremely important. So let's take a closer look. Well, it's still not open, the bridge, after refurbishment, but as we are watching, there is someone resurfacing the bridge, so in the not too distant future it will be possible to cross this bridge again as a pedestrian and cyclist. Well, our walk today is slightly curtailed because I really thought we would be able to cross the bridge, but as you've just seen, quite a lot of the bridge has now been re-tarmacked, so that is excellent news because it's been a very long time in restoration, and yeah, it's a good thing because there aren't many examples of railway river crossings like this, and like I say, up until 1960 this was a very well used railway bridge. If you can hear any other traffic in the background, it is the next river crossing, which is one of the bypasses of the town of Barnstaple. So I think this means we need to wrap up this walk here. I think on my way back I'm going to check the status of the cutting back at Barnstaple rail station, because I was there on day 1, so it's now a couple of days on, maybe 3. So yeah, I think I shall probably sneak in a short video of kind of the before and after, so there's just enough light. So that was the first short walk from Barnstaple rail station. There'll be a second half to this because I've been looking into the shipbuilding history of Barnstaple. So we'll see you on the next one. Cheers!